Whenever we start with a check-in,
Yeah.
I've noticed, because I've been going back and looking over past episodes, a lot of times we're sick.
I know.
So you're getting over another cold,
Yep. I was sick.
and so are both of the kids.
Honestly, I feel like we are at the point when the kids first started going to in-person school, like in kindergarten and daycare and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. This one.
you're all sick again.
Yep.
And I'm sitting here waiting for it to hit me. I don't know. Last time I got away with it, I think.
You did. I still think you were patient zero.
Yeah, but there was like weeks between when I wasn't feeling well and you guys. So
That's true.
I don't know. So it's going around.
Yeah, the things are going around. That is true.
So that's what's been going on a little bit, right?
Yeah, I didn't get to come home on Valentine's Day because I didn't want to get you sick.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer. But I'm glad you're here now.
Yeah, I missed you.
I missed you too. Welcome back to In Residence. I'm Keith.
And I'm Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Keith.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good.
That's good.
You were also gone traveling for work.
I was. Yep, I was out in Washington, D.C. for a few days. Oh no, I can't laugh, otherwise I may cough. Well, that's good to know. No joy here. What you looking at there?
My weekly calendar that I make.
Yeah, how was your week?
Good. Got some stuff done and did training and shoveled some snow.
Yeah, you shoveled a lot of snow.
Wasn't too bad. Neighbors helped out here, and my parents' snowblower runs well.
That was good.
And then even the end of the week was a little easier because I didn't have to drop off or pick up child one because he was sick. There's like the silver
It's not the reason why you want
like the
to not,
silver
but-
lining around that is I didn't have to do that, but I'd rather do it because he's feeling better, But
Yeah.
yeah, what's been on your mind? Anything?
One of the biggest things has been when I'm sick and I don't get to come and see you, and like when I want, like I don't know what it is, like Valentine's Day. I know it's a Hallmark holiday and all those things, and some people hate on it. I've actually been seeing a lot of people and hearing a lot of people taking it not just as a partner, but friends too. So a lot of people doing Galentines. What I've been seeing
I saw
a
that
lot
a
on
lot this year
Facebook.
too.
Yeah,
Which is great.
it is great. But there's something about not being able to be with you on Valentine's Day that just makes me a little sad. And I don't know why. It's not like we're uber romantic or anything like that.
Okay.
Or are we? Maybe we are.
I
But
mean,
you're romantic.
well, okay.
Wait, maybe
You don't
am I
think
not?
you are?
I don't know. I did get you stamps
Well,
for
yeah.
Valentine's Day.
I asked for that. That they're the new Forever stamps are Alan Toussaint,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I want those so bad. I can make like a little shadow box with those and the signed CD we got from him when he was touring with Elvis Costello, and we got to meet him. And I'm like, this is amazing. I didn't know you also got me.
We met him in Green Bay.
Yeah, we met him in Green Bay, and you got me a pack of field notes. I didn't know they did like a pairing with field notes with them.
Sure do.
And so that was even more of a surprise. So I'm like, yeah. So
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I think that I can be thoughtful, but I don't know if thoughtful is romantic. Does that make sense?
I think I understand kind of what you're saying, but I think your thoughtfulness is very romantic to me.
Oh.
Like you're good at gift giving. Like I asked for stamps because I saw them. I actually asked for them because I know you're kind of nerdy and are into stamps.
What are you saying? I do. I am a nerd. I am into
I didn't
stamps.
realize there was a field notes component to it, and I'm nerdy about music. So anyway.
I'm
yeah.
so excited. I'm sorry. This is a complete aside.
Okay, good.
They have
They.
the post office, USPS. They have Jeopardy postage stamps right now.
Okay, what do they look like?
It looks like the Jeopardy board, and it has a question on it, and I can't remember what the question is. It's
an answer, I bet.
It's an answer. Shoot, you're right. Here, I'm going to look it up because I think you will actually appreciate this, and I want to see if you can get it, okay? So the stamp says, this naturalized U.S. citizen hosted the quiz show Jeopardy for 37 seasons.
And you'd say, who is Alex Trebek?
Yeah. And then underneath it, upside down, it says, "Who is Alex Trebek?"
Awesome.
It's really cool. I'll have to show you. You're right. I am a little nerdy. I like postage stamps.
Okay, so you're talking about us not being romantic? What were you trying to say there? Or you went on
Well,
that tangent?
I think what I was trying to say is like you and I, our jam has never been on Valentine's Day. We need to have a reservation at a really fancy restaurant, then go to a play and, like Uber date, like a super date.
Right.
Like we've never really approached Valentine's Day
So yeah.
as having to be a super date. Does that make sense?
Yes, we approach Valentine's Day as a gentle reminder to make time for each other
Right.
as a couple, where we don't necessarily, I have to get you a card and I have to get you something from Hallmark that they're selling or this or that. It's like, and we've talked about how you love to get flowers.
I do.
So
yeah. You got me flowers.
I got you flowers for Valentine's Day, right? And that's something that I try to make sure I do more often. But just because it's Valentine's Day, we're not going to be like, well, we have to go on a date night. Like we've been trying to make that something for over the last couple years. And for us, Valentine's Day isn't necessarily the way we want to express that. It's more of like, oh, well, that's a nice reminder. And we have each other, so we can celebrate it. But like the point isn't for us to get an overpriced dinner where we're squished elbow to elbow in a loud place. Cause like that's not romantic to me.
Yeah.
For me, it's more of like quality time, right? With you, where I can actually hear what you're saying to me.
Yeah.
Hence probably why this podcast works for me.
It does. And as the kids have come on the scene and just gotten older, but just in general, we like to make sure that they know that they're loved too.
Yeah. Like we get them candy and we do it up when they were little and you would get the packs of cards for their classmates and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
We would make sure we did that. Like it's a good idea.
Letting people know that you're thinking of them.
Yeah. But Valentine's Day emotes romantic love. That's one level. Whereas we adhere to the idea of what you just said. It's always a good idea to let somebody know that they're special to you.
Yeah.
So
I was talking to someone at work. It was a little while ago, and they really love Valentine's Day because you can be wordy and write people how you feel, and people don't judge you for like just being open and I don't know if verbose is the word, but just kind of letting it all hang out there. I mean, in a work appropriate way for work, but in general,
yeah,
I thought that was a really sweet way. Maybe
it's a nice way to look at it and to take that. I like that.
Yeah,
that can also feel like a little bit of pressure too for some people, but and just like how we're not trying to diminish Valentine's Day.
Oh no, not at all.
Like I'm not trying to diminish what they're saying, and I'm also not trying to ignore the fact that sometimes the hard part about writing something in a card is like, well, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But that just means you need more practice. So I don't know. Yeah, use it as a great excuse to practice communicating,
Yeah. You're really good at communicating your words.
When I have time, I can be eloquent.
Yes. You are very eloquent. Many of the cards that we as a family have given to people that are eloquent most likely came from Keith's head. Because I'm like, oh, I kind of want to share this. And you're like, oh, well, we'll say it this way. And I'm like, got it. But my handwriting's better. So
yes,
we're kind of a good team.
You definitely write. Like you write or type.
You're the creative, I'm the technician.
I'll blab out loud and then we can come back and we can revise.
But it's not blabbing. It's beautiful. You have a way with words.
It doesn't always just come straight though, is what I mean. Is like, sometimes I'll be like, okay, we're trying to say this, but how do we say that in a more clear or interesting way that makes it special for that person and make it unique for somebody? Yeah.
I'm curious because that's one thing I've always really admired about you is your ability to write and communicate. You're such a good writer. And how does that just come naturally to you? Has it been a lot of practice? Do you have a process?
Well, I don't do a lot of writing in like a formal way. but I do spend quite a bit of time in some online spaces, like responding to people. So I have quite a bit of practice, like that kind of informal, back and forth. That's mostly how I write right now. I have a pretty good practice of responding to people. But it came out of a lot of practice from school. I was into writing and poetry and English in high school. I took all the English classes I could, and then I minored in professional writing.
Yeah.
And even when I went back, was I like what the kids, just after the kids were starting to be born, right? I went back for the guitar program. I went back for like a whole year and got like a diploma in guitar building and repair, right? And then I think I went back for 2 more years, like part-time, to do like the construction course they had. You could take up to so many credits or something, I think.
Yeah.
And since I wasn't taking all of them, I even took an English class. Like I was a non-traditional student, right? Like we had a mortgage, we had kids, and
you already had your
my bachelor's degree already. So I took an English course there, like an online one, and we were reading short essays or like short stories, and I was like typing away and doing these. It was easy to write, and I minored in English.
Yeah.
So it is practice. I enjoy it though. Like I wasn't just like I have to work at it. What people see as a finished result isn't all of the work and effort that you've put in to the final product, kind of thing.
Sure.
So that's a long way of saying it takes work.
Yeah.
I appreciate you complimenting me. I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with liking to read and liking the idea of writing. And I grew up reading lots of different things, all kinds of different topics, comics and even, poetry and stuff like.
Yeah.
So I think that helped exploring that. And, like the writing program I was in, the workshops, and actually having a cohort of people going through it with and giving each other copies of our work and then talking about it and stuff. So I think that helps. And even like music, like reading the lyrics, like I was really into rock and roll, like singer-songwriter stuff too. I always looked into the lyrics to see like, well, what is this person actually saying here? So from a young age, I like doing that.
Yeah. I can tell your level of comfort. And I'm going to say this, and I'm hoping it's not going to make you like shy.
You're going to embarrass me?
I hope not. So oftentimes when you and I are talking, you'll be like, just give me a minute. I need to think about that. So in particular, I think about Purple Space. So that's the creative community that we're a part of.
Yeah.
You'll see something, you'll be like, oh, and like you respond very quickly and so thoughtfully. It's interesting because I see you do it more in written word than sometimes in conversation. But maybe I'm wrong about that because that's not always true.
I think it's all about context and what it is. It can be easier for me to say what I want to say through text, whereas this back and forth, I think, and we hit on it too. I remember, like, I was listening back with the last episode, and I was kind of going back and forth talking about the difference between saying it out loud and writing it down. So this is interesting, and I'm probably meandering and circle talking, right? Like I do that same thing on the page. It's just if I'm going to send it to somebody, nobody sees that. Whereas if I'm circle talking, it's live action, live to tape, right? So like I could edit this out and nobody would ever hear it, but you.
Yeah.
So there definitely is something about writing that gives me grace to think through, whereas I have a lot more practice writing responses than speaking. I used to have a lot more experience talking and a lot less time writing. Like when I was in the workplace, there was a lot more face-to-face interactions. Now I don't get that quite as much.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it either flipped or just one has been exercised more because that's the situation I'm in.
Yeah.
I want to be better off the cuff in conversation with other people. So that's something that I got plans of making that happen. So there will probably be more podcast episodes with me and other guests.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Having conversation. I think that's something I miss and something I want to be better at. I think there's a lot of interesting people that I want to talk to, and that it would be good to get their voices out into the world in any way that I can help.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
And it makes me have to write more, because then I got to think about what would I be saying to these people, or what do I want to, and then I got to do my homework. So
Yeah.
I'm a nerd, and I'm very analytical, or I can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also try to, kind of back to, I don't know why we started talking about romance right away.
Oh,
Just because it was Valentine's Day?
Yeah, Valentine's Day, and I was just saying that we aren't like going on like super romantic dates on Valentine's Day.
But maybe to bring that full circle before we move on or move forward to like another thought that you're having. I try to not be so analytical that it gets in the way of maybe us having a date night or doing something maybe off the cuff. Like, did we go out to dinner the other weekend? And I'm pretty sure you thought we were just going to go home, and I turned right,
and we went and did trivia.
We ended up playing. We didn't know they had trivia, but
we did not.
So I try to have a little more spontaneity, right? So I think there's room for all of it.
Yeah, that was fun. I wonder. I want your thoughts on this.
Yeah,
it's along the same lines. So I was reading an article. Well, it was like an Instagram sort of a thing that I saw.
A post.
Yep. So I saw a post.
I don't think they're called Instagram essays or anything.
I don't think so. No, I don't think
Those
so.
Those a post on Instagram?
They were saying that you should try and do the 777 rule of marriage.
No idea what that is.
I know. So
are you going to tell us?
I am.
I'm joking.
Of course I'm going to tell you. That's what this is all about.
You haven't talked to me about this. So
I haven't.
Okay. So
no,
I just have no idea what's coming.
Yep. So every 7 days, you should be going on a date with your partner. Every 7 weeks, you should go away for the night.
Sounds familiar, actually.
And every 7 months, you should head off on a romantic holiday.
I feel like I maybe saw this somewhere recently.
Did you?
Yeah, it sounds really familiar now that you're saying it out loud.
Yeah.
And I was probably like, oh, don't share this with Laura. She'll make me go places.
Probably. I thought that was an interesting way to think about it, or put some structure to it. Somebody else had a 222 rule, which was every 2 weeks go, I think it's just I
think the important thing is find your cadence, but the main thing here is you structure and make the time. You have to put in the work.
Right.
For, your different life accounts, right? Like, work takes care of itself most of the time.
Yep.
Because you get paid to show up.
Right.
So you show up, but being mindful of, okay, where am I at with my hobbies? Where am I at with my family and my friends? We've talked about this. So that's a good guardrails like that, little tips of how do I make sure I keep coming back to this? Like, schedule an appointment like that into your calendar. The digital calendars, you can make them automatically repeat and give yourself like a little heads up, like, hey, start thinking about where do we want to go for like a weekend away?
Yeah.
And weekly, it's like, okay, where are we going out tonight?
Yeah. What do you think?
I like it. Yeah. It's one more thing to think about, but joking. That's why you write it down. We'll bring that up again. Writing it down is very good.
There you go. All comes back to writing it down.
Get it out of your brain.
Yeah.
I don't use any of like the voice memos very much, but I saw a video about how you can get the voice memo, voice recorder. I think it was from iPhones. Now you can get it to automate and transcribe itself. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting, because going out for a walk, being able to talk into your phone or your microphone or whatever and say whatever you're thinking, and then it transcribes and makes a note for you to actually be able to come back. Whereas I think I've recorded thoughts before, but I've never gone back to actually capture them and then move on with the idea. I think that's maybe what I was saying. Oh, one more thing. It's like I talked about before, it's like I really am trying to build this scaffolding to help me collect the things and then connect them, then share or do something with it. So anyway, see, when I start talking, it all starts to get kind of like mesh together. And
I'm excited.
This is why I write.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
I just think it's interesting, and we've maybe brought this up before, that you spend so much more time face to face with people.
Sure.
Whether it's in group settings or one-on-one situations where you're having conversations.
Yeah.
I think it comes easier to you, and we're just in that season where I spend a lot more time internally thinking and writing. Like we've known that for years
Yeah.
that I kind of live in my brain. And you lean much more on vocalizing your thoughts. And so I'm talking about how I want to develop the muscle of more interpersonal communication through talking. And you've been talking off and on for
Yeah.
years of I want to write more.
Well, and I mean, I do want to write more, but even get better at writing in the moment.
Yeah.
Because how many times have you and I been sitting somewhere, and whether it's on social media, on Purple or something, and I get something in, I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's really nice. I should respond. And then I sit and my mind is blank.
Right.
And I feel like I don't know what to write. It's like if somebody was sitting in front of me, I'd know what to say, right? I'm always looking to you. I'm like, I just don't want to look silly, or because to me, writing seems so much more permanent than a conversation because you're writing it down in history.
Yeah. I think that's
So much pressure on myself with it.
well, and I get that. Like I can totally get that about, especially if like you're gonna try to publish a literary article or in a journal or write a book, right? During this conversation, I've thought, oh, I'm less precious about the written word because I know I can always go back and edit. And I think you're less precious about what you're saying in the moment because you have that muscle down and I think it just comes more naturally to you. For me, it's a little more of like I scribe.
Yeah.
But I mean, knowing that just means you can get better at whichever one you want to. So
I will say, I feel, even though I think I do more speaking, there's so many times I'm like, gosh, I wish I wasn't so awkward, bud.
yeah, me too.
So I've been rewatching Arrested Development. So they hire a publicist to try and tell everyone what to do better. And they're like, okay, so Michael is going to be the person that saves the family. So-and-so has to get a job. You know, it's like going through all these things. And they go to Buster, who is Tony Hale.
Yeah.
He's like, I can do it. What do you need? And they're like, you're incredibly awkward and people are uncomfortable around you. Make yourself as scarce as possible. And so the rest of the episode, he's just like being completely hidden the whole time. And I'm laughing because sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm Buster. I'm just like the awkward one, you know? But
So I don't respond or chime in every time I can. And I think that's okay. Same with, I think you maybe brought this to my attention. It's like, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it
Right.
need to be said now?
right.
So, I mean, I operate that way, and not always. And sometimes when I ought to have done that, I get a feeling of like, oh, I just put my foot in my mouth because I felt like I had to chime in. And it's just like, okay, there's a good reminder of like, all right, I didn't have to add anything to that conversation. It was so unnecessary. So
Right.
I have those moments.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
Doesn't have to be that big deal.
Yeah. I'm always amazed at people that are great communicators. And I guess you never know, they may have the same insecurities and anxiety around communication as like you or I do too.
I wouldn't rule it out.
You and I have been watching a show that maybe you don't want to talk about on here.
Probably not if you're going to say it like that, but what?
So on Netflix, we've been watching Love is Blind.
Oh, yeah, that dumb Netflix show that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has turned into almost our go-to show. I hate to admit that a little bit. Should I hate to admit that?
Yes, you should. It's mildly embarrassing that you like to have that on and watch it, and that I got pulled into it. It's that like an hour every now and then where we're just like we're doing this. It's like trick or treating, right? It's like it's not every year. It's a sometime thing, and it's kind of fun to be a little catty about it, or it's kind of to surrender to the ridiculousness of it, I guess.
Yeah. And so for those that haven't watched it, do you want to talk about the main concept?
So they're trying to see if love is blind. Can you fall in love with somebody by just talking to them without seeing them, without discussing what you look like, right? I can't believe you're making me do a commercial for the show right now.
Oh, no.
But that's the premise, right?
Yeah.
It's reality TV. The definition of a guilty pleasure. Right?
Right.
I'm like, why are we watching this? and I'm like, yeah, put it on because I don't actually want to think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, it's...
Like, I don't have brain capacity to watch Severance, put on that show that I don't really care about.
Yeah. And so I'm bringing that up because it's fascinating to me how close and connected it feels like people are in the pods and they propose to each other. Then more often than not, it doesn't go very well.
Oh, it's got an abysmal success rate, right?
Like 1 in 6.
No, there's 15 men and 15 women.
Yep.
Right? And maybe 1 or 2 couples say yes to getting married at the end of the show.
Right. It's fun to watch the ride.
It's a little cringy, but like I said, I just kind of surrender to it and go along for the ride. It's like, I'm like, oh, I got in the flume. I'm going to get wet. Okay, here I go. Like
we're in
like,
for
okay,
this.
now we're going to have to walk around while my shirt dries for like 3 hours.
Right.
So you kind of suffer for it a little bit, but don't get me wrong. I'm downplaying it more than I should, because if I really didn't like it, I wouldn't watch it again. I'd be like, no, you can watch that without me.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's almost like listening to like a white noise machine, like in the Calm app or something. Like, I'll put on like the waterfall every now and then. Kind of what the show does, because it's, for me, there's no stakes, but then you do get a little bit invested, even though I'm talking about how silly it is. I'm like, oh, yeah. I hope they make it. I hope they make it.
I know. There's some, I'm like, they're so cute. I want them to make it.
So I know it's like I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too. With this, I'm like I don't really like it, but then it's like I get sucked in. But like I said, it's a guilty pleasure. That's how I feel.
Well, as you're talking through it, maybe there's a part of me that likes it because deep down I am a hopeful romantic.
Yeah, I think that actually is it. Like, we both are romantic. See, and that's why, like, earlier, like, we're not that romantic.
Like, we both love the idea of love.
I want it to work out for these people.
I do too.
And the fact that it doesn't is disappointing.
There's somewhere I'm just like, oh gosh, they seem like they're going to get along great.
Yeah.
And then they get to Mexico. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine how intense. Is it like 2 weeks in the pods, 3 days in Mexico?
And then back to the real world.
Where they have to live together.
Slash,
or like,
we put you in an apartment together.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about the show too much.
But maybe, yeah, maybe that is because I'm a hopeful romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah, that explains it right there.
Of why I like the show?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, right?
So you can just say romantic.
I don't need to qualify it.
Yeah.
I can just be a romantic.
Yes.
Like that. What have you been reading this week?
Since the last time we talked, I finished reading Bumpers by Nick Peterson. One of my groups, we did a book club about it. That was good.
Okay.
And that's about, basically, bumpers are things that you put up that are like non-negotiables, and these are the things that are going to prevent you from going into the gutter, as they say. A little bit of like a bowling analogy. But let's not get too low. Let's not get too high. Let's raise the floor over time of what we can do. But let's think about, what are these things I'm going to say and do that set me up for success?
Yeah.
So it was a good book. It was another great way of helping me figure out my life design and what's a good day look like. I have to go back to it because it was so short and quick that I need to go back. You can read it in an evening. If you started reading at 5 o'clock at night, you could be done before 10 o'clock at night. I broke it up into two sittings because I just had other stuff going on. And now I'm like, oh, I definitely need to go back and let it settle in. I think I listened to a couple other snippets of books. Red Helicopter.
Okay.
Leading Change with Kindness is the subtitle. I'm about 25% of the way through, and it's been on my loan list or whatever for a long time, and I must have heard about it from somewhere, but so that's good. And then also Why We Get Sick And that's more about like health. And I think it's focused a lot on like what insulin resistance does to your body and stuff like that. And then just obviously fun things like podcasts and stuff I'm always listening to. But yeah, what about you?
So I finished the Death in the Dark Woods
The fiction book?
fiction book
Kind of like those like
about Bigfoot.
mystery, like,
Hmm.
is it like thriller or is it like mystery?
No, it's more of a mystery.
Okay.
It's good if you want to read a mystery Bigfoot book set in northern Wisconsin. Great book by Annalise Ryan. I also have been reading Collaborating with the Enemy by Adam Kahan. I've been consuming content, Keith. I also listened to the book Co-Intelligence about AI by Ethan Mollick, and then just a number of podcasts. Mel Robbins. I really liked the episode Mel Robbins did with her husband, Chris.
Oh yeah, didn't you say she was ripping us off?
Yeah. No, well, maybe.
I'm joking.
Said, oh, like, that's our thing, Mel. But it was good. It was all about their relationship, and the audience wrote questions, and then she picked 2 or 3 for them to answer and have a conversation together. That was quite good.
Are we wrapping it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
That was a fun little impromptu talk.
Sometimes I like to just talk to you about you and me and what we're thinking.
Yeah, it's been a while. I enjoy it too. All right, let's get out of here.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
I love you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. What? I'm sorry. I love you so much.
Okay, good.